this year I made a video about a day in the life of a master student. Well, I'm making a similar video today, but of course there are a few changes here and there, which is so much exciting, and I'd like to share all those changes with you. You'd think that I'm gonna ease you into it, but I'll be, just to give you a bit of a background. I am in Toyando, that's in Limpopo. You'd think that it's actually after midday, but the truth of the matter is it's a little bit after 8, and it's scorching. The temperature sits at 32 degrees already. Uh, my day starts at 5:30. That makes life a bit easier for me. I wake up at 5:30. I do a bit of running, jogging for some 30 minutes, and I get back, take a shower, and then my day has started already like that. The truth is, if you wake up any time after 7, I mean, you already feel tired because of the heat and all that. So it's important for one to get early in the morning, get a bit of the morning breeze, because by 5:30 here, the sun is already kissing the earth, so you know that it's gonna be hot. But of course, you get used to the temperature and all that. But it just needs one to be uh, prepared at all times, to understand that one has to wake up in the morning and do this and that to prepare for the rest of the day. Now, the interesting thing is I've recently been appointed as a part-time junior lecturer at the University of Venda, which is super exciting, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to take a bit of a walk to the university, and then I'm going to share all the details with you and all the fun that I'm having and I've been having throughout the year, which is quite exciting. Did I say I was going to walk? I've been driving a bit. I've enjoyed some, measure of upward economic mobility. It's starting to make a bit of sense. I've acquired some knowledge. I've acquired a master's degree, and I now see it really in action. All these opportunities which are there right in front of me on my table and all that. It makes me realize that there's so much that goes on in our education that we should don't even realize upon acquiring a qualification, because we're constantly thinking about things having to work out here and there. I know that these things takes time. It takes a bit of time, a bit of patience, a bit of perseverance for things to just work out. Now, my drive to the university, it's quite short. It's your 2-3 minutes perhaps, and in most cases I actually use the same route for my jogging trips with me. Students are not all back, because we're doing a lot of things online these days. Via online platforms, we teach via online platforms, we test via online platforms and all that. It's our attempt to curb the spread of the COVID-19 virus. But nonetheless, although it brings with itself so many challenges and so many it has to itself the other side of the coin, which has so many advantages. The idea that you get to sit in your office the whole day and you've got all this time to yourself to do research and all the other necessary things to make you a better academia. But of course, we always miss a bit of human touch, to be in touch with the people, to be in touch with the students, to interact with them on a physical level and all that. But then what can we do? It's a new kind of a normal. And this is my office. It's not really a fancy place, quite tiny, but it's enough for me to do all that I would want to do in a day. Prepare my lessons, produce course content, interact with my students online, and most of all, get to do my own research. Well, I've just told you that my day starts at half past 5 when I go for a jog. I've noticed that I don't jog because there's I wanna lose anything from my body or so, but because I found it to be it's free. It frees my mind so much that it gives me a different kind of a headspace. It allows me to think through a lot of things. It allows me to be physical. Allows you to be active mentally. When you're active physically, you become active mentally. It's just like that. It reminds me of my time as a master's student. My supervisor tells me that he has a garden at home, and then so one day I visited his place on a weekend, And then I ask him the question, why have a garden when you can afford to buy all these vegetables? And he says to me, it's not about me affording the vegetables. It's about the kind of headspace that I find when I'm in the garden doing what I do in the garden. It gives me time to be in touch with Mother Earth and to be in touch with my realities, to understand that at the end of the day, I'm just as human as everyone else, and I need to make sure that I don't lose touch of that. I stay in touch with that because it makes us whole, it makes us happy, it makes us human. He tells me that there's a need to understand that uh, the office is some kind of a fictitious space where all your thinking happens, all your intellectual thinking happens, where you get to interact with students and colleagues and all that. But there's also a need to think about the outside of the office, which is you interacting with ordinary people, on the streets, with you interacting with your neighbors, with you interacting with your family and all that, which is something I've been, trying to get used to. The idea that there are people who can't think as critically as I do, and there are people who can't analyze things as much as I do. But that doesn't mean that I don't need them. It simply means that I need to balance my life so that I'll have time to be critical and academic and philosophical as I can. Space and time, that's what I mean. And there'll be a time when I just need to be, a member of a community, a member of a family, and all that. Well, this is where everything happens. This is where I spend most of my days at. If I could, in actual fact, I'd find a bit of a bed, put it here, and sleep here, but it's nearly impossible. But of course, one gets missed to be uh, amongst a group of people, amongst a group of students, get challenged like that, get provoke thoughts in that way. But because of COVID and all that, it becoming increasingly difficult to do that. But I'm actually looking forward to a life post COVID, where we can where we'll have some kind of a new normal, yes, and we can interact as much as we can, or as much as we used to, or even more, and we be a university space again. Yeah, well, I know I'm saying a lot of things at the same time, but since my last block, I've been employed, yes, and I've enjoyed a bit, some measure of upward economic mobility, yes, which is quite exciting. And I've also had some time to think through what I could do with my PhD, a possible project for my PhD, and I've come to a conclusion after thorough reading, of course, thorough reading in consultation with my prospective supervisor and my my master supervisor, who I'm thinking will be a part of me for the longest of time. Same goes for my PhD supervisor, who will be a part of me for the longest time. And um, I had never thought of taking a year in between my studies. I never thought that I could spend this year unregistered, and then because I actually thought that just after my masters I'll jump through into my PhD. It's not as easy as it sounds, and it shouldn't be thought of as an easy process. The truth of the matter is there's a lot that goes in play for one to transcend the space of a master's into a PhD full time, because you've got to think about resources for starters, got to think about scholarships, got to think about um, money for your well-being as a student, got to think about your interest. Is what you did with your master's really interesting for you to pursue it in your PhD? Are you still interested in that, or would you want to venture into something different? And I've noticed that in my master's I pursued crime fiction, and it's an interesting subject, very very interesting, because it speaks to our realities in South Africa, realities of crime and all that. But I've also noticed that apart from all the negativities of crime that happens in the country, there are a lot of things, exciting things which happen, which have to do with culture, the culture of the youth, the culture of contemporary South Africa, and that for me is worth pursuing scholarly. And I'm thinking of taking my PhD in cultural studies. Cultural studies is um, informs literature as much as literature informs cultural studies. So I'm not really taking a detour. It's just a bit of, but I will still be within the discourses of literature and literary theory. Only that I'll be approaching literature this time from a cultural theorist's perspective. I want to examine contemporary culture in South Africa and see how it influences our everyday life, how it influences the youth to be who they are, to do things the way they do them, to react to situations the way they do, to react to trends the way we do, and all that. Because the truth of the matter is, we are a product of the society that raises us, the society that we are born in, and we are a product of the constant ideologies, either political, economic, or social, which we find ourselves within. So yeah, this is me in a nutshell. This is what has transpired in my life since the last time I made a video. um, and I'm really hopeful that at some point, perhaps towards the end of the year, or to very soon, or perhaps even next year, I could get a full-time position at the university in South Africa. But of course, I'd be happy to get out of the country a bit, go have a bit of cultural diversity, to understand learn new cultures, understand them, learn new knowledge, so to say, and languages, and all that. But overall, it has been my life post my masters, and it's my life pre my PhD registrations, which I'm so looking forward to, because I really need to get back into the ring and start, wrestling it academically, because that's really who I am, and I think that's my entire life. But I acknowledge the fact that there's so much outside my academic life. There's so much, and we shouldn't be narrow-minded to think that academics only think about academics only. We think about quite a number of things, and we have quite a number of hobbies.